Welcome again to my channel. This is Trev from Trevessence, and today we are going to continue the reading of Twice in a Lifetime by Dorothy Garlock. For those of you who are new here, a very, very special welcome to you. If you have not yet hit that subscribe button, now is a great time to do so. And to all my returning travelers, I want to say thank you for your continued support. So, for those of you who were here yesterday, we read about Clara and Drake sharing a kiss, their first kiss. And also, we read about Sweet. Yes, Sweet is still on the road looking for Amos and Drake because Amos stole his money and his morphine. And he is looking for them. And they are still holed up in Sunset. And Sweet is on his way to Sunset, but they don't know that. So we're going to continue the reading and see what happens with Amos and Drake while they're still in Sunset. So come along with me, guys. Let us continue. We are now at chapter 15. Clara walked down Main Street with a spring in her step. She reveled in the warmth of the early evening sun against her skin. Greetings were given from shopkeepers shutting up their businesses for the night, hailed down sidewalks and across the street. She marveled at how different one day could be from the next, how something as simple as a kiss could change the way everything looked. When her day began, it had been filled with nervous apprehension. After her run-in with Eddie at the bank, his plans thwarted by Drake's unexpected arrival, she had dreaded the thought of seeing him again. All the way to work, she wondered what he would say, imagined the withering looks he might give. But then, miraculously, Eddie hadn't come to the bank. His office door had remained shut, his grating voice unheard. And so, Clara's fears had lifted from a fog. She laughed with the people who came to her telewindow. She went outside to enjoy lunch. She thought about Drake, the ride they had shared, and how his lips felt against hers. After the bank closed, Clara wasn't ready to go home since it was such a beautiful day. She had started walking. She hadn't had a destination in mind, but wasn't the least bit surprised when she found herself standing across the street from the Sunset Hotel. So what now? This was the question Clara had struggled to answer all night and throughout the day. Drake McCoy had enchanted her. Being with him had stroked a fire in her she had long thought extinguished. He was charming, easy to talk to, and handsome. But despite all those things, there was a part of Clara that still felt as if she had cheated on Joe, or at least his memory. She was full of contradictions, happy yet sad, excited yet nervous, flattered yet ashamed. But as conflicted as Clara was, she still stood outside Drake's hotel, completely unsure of what to do with her hands, taking one step forward, then another back. It was as if he was a magnet and she was made out of metal, unable to resist his pull. Sister Winsome, how you doing? Welcome into the live, my darling. Thank you so much for coming, as always. It's a pleasure. Hope you're having a fabulous Monday morning so far. Yes, Sister Winsome. Yes, Sister Winsome. Yes, Sister Winsome. For sure. For sure. I'm thinking I'm going to do every other day of each one. What do you think about that? Like today, I do the Bible, and tomorrow I do another reading. Tell me what you think, Sister Winsome. Let's continue. Clara knew that to go inside, to be the one who came looking for him, was bold, almost inappropriate. But she was impatient, unable and willing to wait for him to make the next move. She wanted to see him again as soon as possible to find out where their relationship would go next. She took a deep breath and crossed the street. Now, is this a strange turn of events? Usually, I'm the one standing on that side of the counter. Almost didn't recognize you this way. Edna Gilbert laughed loudly from behind the front desk. In her middle 60s now, she had founded the hotel with her husband, Leonard, back when Clara had been a little girl. Though Edna had been a widow for going to 2 decades, she refused to believe that there was a job she couldn't do. She hauled heavy bags without complaint, fixed broken toilets, washed an endless amount of bedding, and even painted the hotel's exterior when it needed a new coat. Though Clara had always thought that the way Edna dyed her dark black hair made her look older than she really was, the woman's personality was undoubtedly young. I better know why you are here, the hotel owner declared. You do? Clara asked with a slight frown. Edna nodded. I'd be willing to bet every dollar I got deposited in that bank of yours that you are here to see the fellow up in number 6, she explained. The younger one, of course. Clara was taken aback. She had told no one about Drake except her mother, and even with Christine, she had left out most of the important details. As far as she knew, with the notable exception of Eddie, no one in Sunset had seen them together. Boy, Clara, you don't understand. That is small town, small talk. Oh, yes, when you think nobody has seen you, oh, yes, word goes around. I mean, I want you to strike me with lightning, in some. You are not easy. Oh my God. Yes, Winsome. I hear you, my sister. I hear you. Let us continue. Her confusion must have shown. It ain't like he's been gossiping or nothing, Edna said. He came down the other day and asked about you. Real innocent and the like. Having stood behind this desk for more years than I care to count, I know how to put two and two together. You showing up like this proves that I ain't breaking up the wrong tree. I ain't barking up the wrong tree. No, Clara was definitely embarrassed. Blushing, she looked away. If you don't mind my asking, Edna continued, leaning heavily on the counter, her voice dropping conspiratorially. That Drake fellow is mighty easy on the eyes. Why, I think he looks an awful lot like an Hollywood actor, the one who was in. Hmm. But but before Edna could say more, the hotel's phone began to ring. Clearly annoyed, she said, "I'll be right back," and went to answer it. Clara exhaled. She was happy to be alone. She considered using Edna's preoccupation to go up to Drake's room, but when she turned around, she discovered Amos coming down the stairs into the small lobby. The mechanic looked rougher around the edges than when they'd first met. His clothes were a wrinkled mess, and several days' worth of white whiskers covered his cheeks. Clara wondered if he might be sick. When he noticed her, his eyes narrowed a bit, as if he was suspicious of her. Evening, Amos said. His voice sounded friendlier than he looked. I suppose you're here to see Drake. He's up in the room. What makes you think I'm here to see him? Because I can't think of any other reason you'd be in a dump like this, Amos replied with a short chuckle. He hazarded, he hazarded a quick glance at Edna, who was still talking animated on the phone. Lowering his voice, he added, This ain't the sort of place respectable folks visit. Even a crumbum like me knows that much. It's not that bad, Clara disagreed. Take it from someone who spends plenty of time checking in and out of hotels, Amos said. This one ain't that good. Clara couldn't imagine the life that Amos, as well as Drake, lived. traveling up and down country roads, countless miles in their car, sleeping in whatever moth infested place had an empty bed for the night, eating in greasy diners. Everything unfamiliar, but strangely the same. It seemed like a hard life, one with few friends, and like Drake had told her, even fewer chances at love. I never had a chance to thank you for helping me with my truck the other day, Clara said, wanting to change the subject. Amos shrugged. We are nothing. We're nothing to it, he said. Then his expression soured. Damn shame to lose that hose. But I suppose it shouldn't surprise me none. With what with the way Drake got all moony eyed. Excuse me? Clara blurted, caught off guard. Now don't go getting all offended, the mechanic replied. It ain't personal. It's just the way it is. Here the two of you are, acting like a couple of teenagers, when you both ought to know there ain't no future in it. In a few days, me and Drake are gonna get back in the Plymouth and head down the road. And for long, ain't neither one of you is gonna remember the other's name. Oh, the audacity of Amos. That hose I put in your truck is gonna last longer in your memory and in your memory and those few days. Lord, these people talk funny. And I gotta read it. It's more than that, she insisted, her voice trembling. Amos's eyes held a hint of pity. It's a darn shame you feel that way. Clara felt sick, even as her feelings for Drake McCoy grew, especially after they had kissed. She had worried that maybe she was making a mountain out of a molehill. Still, she had clung to hope, believing with all her heart that he that he was telling her the truth. But hearing Amos speak so dismissively, so bluntly, calling what she had with Drake a meaningless fling, wounded her deeply. She could see that the mechanic was well aware that he had hurt her. She wondered if he cared. Maybe he was jealous of all the time she was spending with Drake, or annoyed that his friend was distracted by her instead of focusing on his racing, or mad about losing the hose. Clara suspected that it was all three. Amos nodded towards the stairs. You might as well go on up and enjoy what little time you got left, he said. I'm gonna go get some grub. With that, he left, letting the hotel door swing shut with a bang. What's bothering you? Clara had been waiting for Drake to ask that very question ever since she had knocked on his door. When he had opened it, a smile had lit up his face. She had tried to she had tried to match it, but hers had quickly faltered. He had invited her in, but she had shaken her head and asked if they might take a walk instead. Drake had readily agreed. Taking the stairs, he had made small talk, but she couldn't bring herself to answer. When they passed the front desk, Edna had wished them a good night, giving Clara a wink when Drake wasn't looking. Outside on the sidewalk, when she was still quiet, he'd ask his question. Nothing, she lied, thinking herself a coward. I'm fine. You could have fooled me, he said. It it doesn't have anything to do with that fellow at the bank, does it? Eddie never showed up. I actually had a nice day. So what changed? Why the long face? Your friend just told me that we're having a fling, something that both of us will forget soon after you leave Sunset Forever. Clara knew she couldn't say that, but she also couldn't keep what Amos had said locked away. She had to say something. She needed answers. What? What do you mean? You want to know what my intentions towards you are? She nodded. Drake chuckled. Your mother asked me the same thing this afternoon. Taken aback, Clara managed to say, You are kidding me. Cross my heart, it's the truth. I didn't say a word to her about what happened between us. She told him, her voice rising, her tone defensive. I wasn't implying otherwise, Drake said. But when two people meet, when they start spending time together, doing all the things we have, it's to be expected that the folks around them, family, friends, and the like, are going to wonder where it's headed. They're curious, that's all. What about you? Don't you want to know? Drake stopped walking and turned to face her. Of course I do. Neither one of us is a kid anymore. I don't want to waste time playing games. Clara's heart raced. We have only known each other a couple of days. That's plenty long to believe that how I feel is real, Drake said, his tone as strong as his words. Don't you agree? She nodded. But you are leaving soon. He held her eyes, his jaw tight, and then looked away. Thing is, I'm not so sure about that anymore. What do you mean? She asked, reaching out to grab his forearm, imploring him to tell her the truth. Drake took a deep breath. Remember what I told you? That in all the years I've spent driving around, running races, I've never found someone who was willing to share that life with me. Clara nodded. She remembered every word. I've always expected the women I met to change their lives to match mine, for them to give up what they wanted to be with me out on the road, Drake explained. But over the last couple of days, I've started to wonder if I haven't spent years looking at it the wrong way. Maybe the problem is me. She remained silent, letting him talk. He took her hand. All I've ever done is move, he told her. Ever since I left my father's farm, I haven't stayed in one place for long. Racing in some lonely little town one day, another the next. I've never put down roots. Instead, I've wandered, trying to convince myself that the grass is always greener somewhere else. I just kept driving. The faster, the better. But then I came here. I met you, and everything I thought I knew was turned upside down. I finally found someone who was funny, smart, and beautiful, all the things I've spent my whole life looking for. But for us to be together, something is going to have to change. Drake paused, the silence lingering. So, what if I gave up racing, settled down, and opened that garage I've always dreamed about? 10 years ago, I would never have considered it. But now, hmm, Clara couldn't believe what he was saying. For, for Drake to express his feelings for her, to say words she hadn't heard a man utter for almost a decade, was strange, unfamiliar, yet welcoming. That he was echoing some of the same thoughts she wrestled with, acknowledging that something special was growing between them, and that he, too, wanted to find out where it all led, was comforting. She knew things between them were moving fast, but she didn't want to stop. Still, what he was suggesting also made her feel guilty. I could never ask you to give up racing, she said. You are not, he replied. I'm making this choice on my own. All that matters is that when I walk away, you'll be there. She searched his eyes, looking for some sign that he wasn't serious, that this was a joke or some game he was playing, but his gaze never wavered. I can't believe I've made you feel this way. Drake smiled. Your son helped too. Tommy? What does he have to do with this? I met him this afternoon, and to say that things didn't go the way I'd hoped would be one heck of an understatement. Drake told her about what had happened, how he had finally gotten Tommy to open up a little, had given had even talked him into helping fix the garage door, but then things had quickly soured, all because he had asked about a certain young woman. Clara frowned. Naomi. The way you reacted seems like that girl was has dug her claws deeply into him. To the bone, it seems, she said, shaking her head. But I still don't understand what Tommy has to do with you wanting to give up racing. There I was at your house, he explained. Your mother introduced herself with a knife in her hand. Your son stomped away from me as mad as a hornet. Crazy as it might seem, it made me realize all that I've been missing. My mother had a knife. My mother had a knife, Clara asked, dazed. Drake laughed. It doesn't matter. What's important is that at that moment I saw things clearly. I've never known what it's like to have a family, to come home to the same house every day, to try to build something that matters. He gave her hand a slight and gentle squeeze. And before you start thinking that this is because I'm lonely or that I'm afraid I won't find someone, nothing could be further from the truth. He leaned closer. The reason is that I finally met someone worth stopping for. Somehow, when I least expected it, I found you. What about Amos? She asked. What will he think? He won't like it, Drake answered with a heavy sigh. Amos is the closest thing I've got to family. Hell, he's been more of a father to me than my own managed to be. But I have to do this. I have to do this. It's the right choice at the right time. I'll do my darnest to make him see it my way. But if he can't or won't, then after we run one last race to try to win back what we lost, I reckon we'll go our separate ways. Clara remembered what Amos had said back at the hotel. She had no doubt that the mechanic would be furious about Drake's decision. He would blame her, understandably, and he would be right, in a way. I'm ready for a new day to come, Drake said. Gently yet insistently, he pulled her towards him until their bodies touched. Clara knew he wanted to kiss her again, even though they were on the sidewalk where anyone could see them. She had no desire to stop him. Eh, they gone to Broad Street now with the relationship. Okay. But then, just as Clara closed her eyes, their lips about to touch, a car horn honked down the street. Oh Lord, I wonder if it is sweet. It wasn't directed at them. Someone being smart, but a coincidence. Still, it ruined the moment, and they both stepped back. Drake ran a hand through her dark hair. Clara walked over to look in the window of the bakery, empty except for a wedding cake. That looks good enough to eat, Drake said as he joined her. It's probably hard as a rock. It's been in there for more than a week. Hungry as I am, I doubt it would matter much. Clara suddenly had an idea. How would you like to have dinner at my house tonight? He laughed. I wasn't dropping a hint. I'm serious. I don't want to impose. You wouldn't be. My mother has a roast in the oven. That will be plenty. In that case, sure, I'd love to. His eyes narrowed, and he gave her a little smile. Your mother won't pull another knife on me, will she? No promises, she answered, and they both laughed. But Drake's laughter soon faded. He reached for her, and Clara again placed her hand in his. I meant what I told you, Drake said. I mean to give up racing, to settle down here in Sunset, to start a new life with you. But I want you to believe in me. I need you to believe in us. Clara's eyes searched his. I do. His easy smile bloomed. I'm glad, he said. With you by my side, I'm headed for a bunch of bright tomorrows. She nodded. Drake's life wasn't the only one that was changing. Okay, guys, so here is Clara and Drake taking their relationship to another level. Now he's being invited to her house. Let's see what is going to happen. Let's see how long is chapter 16 because it's the morning. Okay, so chapter 16 is a little bit too long. Oops. So chapter 16 is quite a few pages. So that is where we are going to end for this morning. I enjoyed reading to you, and I hope you all enjoyed listening to this book. Twice in a Lifetime by Dorothy Garlock. For all of you who came in on the live, and those of you who will come in after the live is over, I sincerely, sincerely appreciate you all. Thank you all so, so, so much for stopping by. That's going to be it from me for this morning, my friends. Until next time, this is Trev from Trebessence, where your journey matters. Have yourselves a fantastic day, my friends.